How would you feel if you had to spend your young adult life serving in a war where thousands died every day? Well, today I'm going to be talking about two men that had to deal with exactly that. Um, so the reason I want to talk about this is because these brave men need their stories told and how they defended our great country with their lives. These heroes demonstrated exceptional courage, sacrifice, and resilience, and which helped shape our nation's identity, and it's going to help influence many generations to come. But before I want to get into that, I want to talk about our military, some basic military knowledge before I talk about just these guys. So just some stuff that you should learn. So the first thing I want to talk about is the Army. So they have many ranks, and their many ways to move up. So some examples are private, private first class, sergeant major, and then officer ranking, second lieutenant, lieutenant general, general of the army, all stuff like that. So the army is responsible for being on land during wartime and peacetime. So during wartime, they're basically on land protecting our country, and then they're on other lands or attacking other countries that are against us. And then during peacetime, they stay in our land and other lands just as a deterrent for other nations to not attack us. They do not. They want other nations to be scared of us with the army. So the next one I'm going to talk about is the Navy. So the Navy rankings are quite different from the Army rankings. Just some examples are like the first ranking is ensign, and then they only have 11 ranks as well, and they have admirals, which the Army does not have, like the vice admiral, the fleet admiral. So the main objective of the Navy is to sea control and then deterrence in other countries, just like the Army, and then maritime security. So basically, what that stuff means is just they're patrolling our waters on our coastlines and stuff, and they're um, just making sure other nations aren't trying to attack or anything, and they're also protecting other allied countries as well. So an interesting fact about the Navy is that we have currently over 485 ships in working condition, and that puts us at the top 5 for navies in the world. So, but I believe we're number 4, but I just said top 5. So the third one is going to be the Marines, the third branch of the Marines. Their rankings are quite like the Army, except there's less. But you just got to keep in mind that there's no officers on here on this picture. It's just all the 9 rankings right here. So like a private is what the Army has too, private first class, stuff like that. For sergeant, sergeant major of the Marine Corps. So the Marines are probably my favorite military or branch of the military because they control land, water, and air. I mean, it reminds me of like the Airbender, Last Airbender, which is a pretty cool show. And so they're just responsible for quick reaction time and reacting to any crisis very quickly. All right. Before I went into Allen C. York, I just want you guys to know I did skip over the Air Force because I didn't have enough time to go over it. But if you do want to learn a little about the Air Force, look it up online or just watch Top Gun or something. There's cool planes in that one. So a good way to start with about York is that he's actually a pacifist and tried to get away from the war 3 separate times, and he was all denied. He tried to do it for religious reasons. He had a priest actually vouch for him all 3 times, but he kept getting denied because they did not recognize his church as like a Christian denomination. So he had to go to World War One, but now he's one of the most famous heroes of World War One just because of his heroics and stuff. So he was actually stationed in France on the Meuse-Argonne offensive. Sorry, it's a hard word, but it's one of the trenches that was in France. I'm sure you've seen some of them, and it was just one of the big trenches that they fought in. So his historic moment that I'm going to talk about is basically him and his unit were assigned to attack or take control of the Tocqueville Railroad, and basically the map they were given was written in French, so they could not read it at all, and it caused a miscommunication, and they ended up behind enemy lines. So these Germans noticed that, and the machine gunners just started gunning them down. And before they even knew it, nine of their unit was gone, including all of their sergeants. So York had to take control of the entire unit, and what he did is he used his hunting skills that he learned from his hometown and just crapped on these guys and just started killing them all. But eventually he got ambushed by 5 Germans because he just kept killing them all. 5 Germans. He somehow killed all of them after an ambush, and he didn't get hit once. And then he eventually made his way to the machine gun, took it down, and the German commander had to surrender. And he captured 132 Germans that day. And when he got back, they just made him sergeant, and that's pretty impressive because it's pretty hard to make sergeant. All right, so some of his stats is that he killed 28 Germans, took 132 of them prisoner, and then he silenced 35 machine guns, which is such a cool way to say that. Just took out 35 machine guns, silenced them, and his rank was sergeant, and he was a Medal of Honor recipient. So the next guy I want to talk about is Desmond Doss. I'm sure you've heard about this guy. He is the star of Hacksaw Ridge. Is the story about him. If you haven't seen Hacksaw Ridge, I recommend seeing it. But basically, he was a young man to join the armies, around 22 at the time. This is him and his wife, and he wanted to be a medic, so he had to carry a gun because it was against his religious reasons. And basically, they didn't really allow him to do that, but he fought for it, and they eventually let him do it. But I mean, not carrying a gun, your unit's not gonna like you very well, so he got bullied for it, and they just picked on him at basic training and stuff. I mean, watch the movie; it does a really good job of portraying it. And so he never touched a gun for the entire war, and he basically said his Bible was his gun, which is pretty cool. And so he was stationed at Okinawa, Guam, and Leyte during World War II. And then, so his heroic moment is the Battle of Hacksaw Ridge, like the movie it's named after. That's actually the cover of the movie. It's super cool. It's battle. And then, so he saved 75 men, Japanese or American. It did not matter to him. He saved them. What you gotta understand is that the ridge is like an actual ridge. It's like 60 feet up, and you gotta climb up. And what he would do is he would tie a rope around his waist. He'd get the injured person, tie a rope around their waist, and drop them down, and then he'd pull them to safety, and then he'd just go up, do it again and again and again, until he saved 75 guys. He'd just keep doing it again. And then, so he didn't even fire one weapon. He was one of the most heroic, awesome stories on planet Earth. And I honestly recommend watching the movie. It's so heartwarming. It's so good. Even if you're not religious or anything, it's just a super good movie. So stats, he saved 75 American and Japanese troops, private first class, which isn't a high rank, but he had the most awesome stories ever. Here's him with his Medal of Honor right there, and yet he received his Medal of Honor for bravery in the battlefield. So why did I want to choose this topic? Basically, I think it's important for people to understand stuff about our military, and I think people need to understand the sacrifices people have made and our troops make when they join the military. And I think these stories just scratch the surface of the sacrifices some people have made. And hopefully I can inspire people from these stories that I've told. So the conclusion is we learned about 3 branches of the military, 2 heroes from America, Alvin York, Desmond Doss. The extraordinary bravery, selflessness, and determination shown by these heroes not only played a pivotal role in shaping our nation's identity, but also exerted a profound influence on our generations to come. So, in closing, let's not forget what we learned about these 2 amazing people and their dedication to the United States. And I would just like to thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys learned something, because this stuff is really cool to me, and I hope you guys are inspired. Thank you guys so much.